Greetings, everybody. This video is especially for Mr. Andrew Holiness, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Honorable Bro God, as he refers to himself, or others refer to him. Now, at this time in our history, we have to understand that it's not time to give in to emotion. Let's clear that up. It's time to be socially responsible. And so, as every member of every society, we all have a social responsibility. So, we're asked to keep social distance, we're asked to wash our hands, we're asked to participate to make the process or whatever we're enduring in this time to go through smoothly and to see if we can work together in harmony to bring about peace, to bring about love, to bring about change. Now, what I'm going to talk about, I wanted to be socially responsible because I heard some voice notes, but I didn't want to speak on it until I knew for sure. Now that it's in the Jamaica Gleaner, I think it's a credible source and I can speak on it. So I have a few notes that I make here. So there is a group of 45 Jamaicans, Jamaican nationals that are now stranded at sea due to the fact that they were on a cruise, and this cruise, because of what's happening, they're heading back home. Now, I think the cruise are the ones who have this cruise. I don't know if they're based in Portugal. I'm assuming because that's where they headed back. Now, members from the different parts of the world that have been stranded on this cruise have now had their governments finding ways to fly them back to their country. So when we think about nationality, I would think about sovereignty. This is a time when you all understand the true meaning of that. So, in spite of the fact that we live in different parts of the world and we have access to traveling across the world, there are times in our history when we have to return to where we come from. I've said that many times. There are times in our history when you understand your position and your place. And in spite of the fact that we love everybody and we are supposed to work together with everyone in harmony as human beings, there still comes a time when those lines are drawn and folks are going to look out for each other. Some people look out for themselves, but there are times when people have to look out for each other. And it's at this time in history when your character, your humanity is going to show. And so Andrew Holiness at this time, based on this article that I've read, and I can't assume that I know the details of this, and I can say that since this article was published, that nothing has been done. I'm just going on seeing it for the first time and reaching out to Andrew Holiness, the government of Jamaica, to do something about it. Mr. Andrew Holiness, a few weeks ago, when you shut down the borders, you came on, and the job that you're doing in keeping things transparent and the steps that you're taking to keep the people safe and to hold the spread of this disease is commendable. So let's congratulate you so you don't think that we are trying to attack you. But now, as it relates to the situation where these 45 Jamaican nationals are stranded at sea, and when they reach out to you, and I don't know if this is true because we're hearing just the people who are stranded at sea, we're hearing their side. I don't know what your side, and I don't know what is happening behind the scenes. But based on what they've said to the Gleaner, is that they reached out to you when they were in Dominica. It would have been a great point where you could do something to send a plane or find ways how to get them back home. And you said no. Now, let's go back to what my thought was referring to earlier, where I said after you close the borders, you came out and told the people that there were a group of individuals at sea, and they asked, I think there were pilots, I don't know if they're pilots or they're captains or whatever, but these individuals reached out to you and you said on humanitarian ground, you are going to allow them to dock and to take their different flights to return home. And that was very commendable. Now, these individuals are saying that they reached out to you and that you said no. So If you say no, in of itself, that is not a problem. But what is the solution? You cannot say no to Jamaican nationals. Otherwise, as a prime minister, you wouldn't be carrying out your duty as a prime minister, and you ought to be a nationalist. That doesn't make you a bad person. Every leader in any part of the world is a nationalist, a person who has true allegiance to people and nation. Because you're a nationalist doesn't mean that you're a bad person and that you don't have humanity, or you don't care about other folks, or you don't have love for other folks. It just means that your loyalty is to your own people. And whatever you need to do to bring these people home, it must be done. It's not like you have an excuse where you can say no. You have a social responsibility. In other nations across the world, when you have persons who come from other places in the world, when there's turmoil in those places, the people in those countries go to their government and pressure them and ask them to assist. So if you have civil unrest in some other nation, the people from that nation who no longer live in that nation and might never ever live there again, they go to their prime minister of this country and they ask for help. And usually, even though those individuals have never been in this country, the nations from which they come from might abandon them, but those who put pressure on the government in the areas where they live often get help. So we have people, this is why you have so many people across the world who are called refugees, because the nations where their loved ones live and their families live ask the government for assistance, and oftentimes these governments will go and take them out and bring them to the nations where, nationals reach out. So you have a responsibility, and you have neglected the Jamaican people, and this is your opportunity to now fix that, to remedy it by coming up with a solution to take these people. Now, the individuals that are speaking to the Gleaner, they're saying that there's no one on the ship that has COVID-19. Now, that's their word. But we can't listen to anything else because we're not hearing from you on this, and we're not hearing from anybody else. They're saying, we're not asking that you pick us up and just let us out in the society. But if we are going to head to a place, and I think they said by the 15th or the 14th of this month, they should be back in Portugal. And when they go there, everybody's looking out for their own. What's going to happen to these individuals? You're just going to say no? Are you saying no to the Jamaicans, or you're just saying no to everybody and they don't matter? So I don't want to be emotional with this. I just want to say to you, Mr. Holiness, that you have a social responsibility to get these people, or find a way to get others in nearby community or something. Find a way to bring them home. It's your duty. It's your responsibility. That is part of who you are as a prime minister. They said that when they were in Dominican Republic, it would have been a good point for you to find a way to bring them home, because once they're there, they're in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And at that point, they are not going to turn back. So, again, I'm saying what happens after this is over will definitely determine how we view you or anyone else. How your response to the virus has been is commendable thus far, but you keep failing. There were individuals in China who had reached out to you and say, we wanted to be out. You did not take them because, for whatever reason. There are individuals who reached out to you and said that we are at sea, and you said you're bringing them in, allowing them to dock after you close the border, because you said it's a humanitarian thing to do, and it was. But why is it that you have no humanity when it comes to your own people? Do something about it. You're not in a position where you can say no and just leave it as a resounding no. You've got to do something to help these people. For the ones who are out at sea, my empathy is to you. I can imagine how frightening that must be, to be heading somewhere knowing that the peak of this disease is in those areas. And though you might feel safe now, or you might be healthy now, you don't know what's going to happen to you when you get there. But hold fast. We heard your story, and we're not just on social media to be here to just making a shame or disgrace of ourselves. We're here also to put pressure on individuals who need to be pressured and to appeal to others, as I am to Andrew Holiness today, to do something in helping you. Otherwise, the whole idea that, we sold each other into captivity becomes more and more true. And the ones who took us into captivity oftentimes show more compassion than our very own. And that has to stop. That must stop. That has to stop. We have to stop selling out our own people. We have to stop abandoning our own people. We have to stop throwing each other under the bus. It's time for change. And it's time for us to start loving each other more than we have in the past. It's time for us to understand that these things happen for reasons sometimes beyond our control. But it's during this time you have an opportunity to rise up like an eagle. It's an opportunity to rise up and to show yourself to be free mentally, emotionally, psychologically, physically. Freedom. This time must indicate a different kind of freedom, not just physical, but emotional and spiritual and mental. Stay blessed, everybody.